Hey everyone, excited to have all of you back. Now we have our next speaker, and this is Catherine Alton, co-founder and CEO of a company called Trading Up Media, and she's going to talk about finding your audience where they are and not where they think you are.
Thanks, Natalie. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this session, Reach Your Audience Where They Are, Not Where You Think They Are. As Natalie mentioned, my name is Catherine Alton. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Trading Up Media, and we're a growth marketing agency that offers inbound marketing powered by the programmatic experience. Our hybrid marketing and ad technology solutions really help our clients generate high-powered growth. And I know we have a lot to cover today in our short time together, so I'm actually just going to dive right in. So our agenda for the next 30 minutes together, we're going to start by covering why it's important to really understand your buyer's journey. Then what to do to really know and start to understand your audience. Then we'll get into how you can find your audience online. And finally, we're going to show you how to reach those audience members through an omni-channel approach. And of course, there will be a little bit of time at the end for some questions. So if you have questions along the way, start typing them in. And like I said, at the end, we should have a little bit of extra time so I can answer those at the end of the presentation. Great, so let's get into it. Most everyone is familiar with the typical sales funnel, which, as you know, is kind of a linear progression where prospects enter at the top as strangers and come out and exit the funnel as they actually become sales and turn into customers for you. Of course, the funnel has one major flaw. It really views customers as an afterthought and not really a driving force in your business. And funnels really produce customers, but they don't consider how those customers can also help you to grow. And that's why the flywheel is so important. It's really a model to explain the momentum that you do gain when you align your entire organization around delivering that remarkable customer experience. So, going from strangers and attracting them into prospects as they get to know who you are, what you offer, starting to engage with them, and then as they become customers, you delight them and they become impressed with the services that you offer and how you help them solve their pain points. And then, of course, they become promoters of yours and share it along with all of their contacts and all of their networks. So the flywheel is really important. And this methodology is especially true for membership-based businesses. The flywheel was really developed according to today's new consumer habits and is really designed to encompass, again, all of your company's interactions with a customer and not just during the sales process. So getting into the buyer's journey just a little bit deeper. So as strangers become familiar with your brand and they move through your buyer's journey, it's really important to fully understand the process and what that looks like and how your customers and prospects are interacting with you and your business. So this way you can really get a great understanding, of course, how long your sales cycle is, and then continuously find ways to improve that experience for your audience along the way. So, it's really important to start tracking where people may fall off in the journey. So, whether it's when strangers are becoming prospects, or maybe you have a lot of leads, but they're not really converting into customers. So when you start tracking this and really learning and digging into this, there's a lot of insights you can find. And so really start paying attention to those analytics across the journey, and then you can continue to make improvements and adjustments along the way. But essentially, your buyer's journey is the sum of the individual personalized experiences with your brand. So, from visiting your website to maybe getting an email from you, attending an event that you might be at or hosting, to even once they become a customer and they're using your product or service, it really encompasses their entire journey with you in all the interactions. And a few of the ways that you can improve your journey are first by creating a seamless journey through every touch point. So, what we mean by this is to just make it easy for people and from strangers to prospects to understand your brand. What is it that you offer? What is your value proposition? Make sure that they understand the value because that's how they're going to end up giving you money and pay for your services and products. So it's really about building that seamless journey and making it easy for people to find information and for you to essentially show yourself as a thought leader. Next is to really tailor every interaction. There are so many tools out there now that can help you utilize personalization. So even if you are doing automations, it's still personalized. People still feel that personal touch. And then also use content recommendations to help guide people through the journey. So if they come to your website and you have a blog, show additional resources that you have there that they can learn from you. That goes a long way. And you really want your message and brand to be consistent across all parts of the journey. So from stranger to promoter, you're going to be consistent and showing great value to those folks, to your audience. And finally, it's important to recognize that the journey is not always linear. So, in this graphic, it kind of shows, oh, look at this nice straight line. They go from strangers to prospects to customers to promoters. Well, it's not always like that. Some people may take a little bit longer to do the research. It takes some people a little bit longer to feel comfortable with making a decision and becoming actually a paying member or a paying customer. So, in actuality, the journey really often looks like this kind of this crazy squiggly line going from stranger to, visiting your website, maybe seeing an ad, interacting with that, joining your mail list, maybe downloading an ebook. But really, there are so many touch points that your customer will go through when they are a stranger, and again going from stranger to somebody who's actually promoting and saying, hey, we love this, you've got to join, you have to pay for this, and sharing that with their contacts. So of course, nurturing emails and all those campaigns, but essentially not every journey is exactly the same, and it's important to know that. So, and recognize that people will interact differently with your brand at different times, which goes back to the previous points of ensuring that you're creating a consistent and tailored approach at each and every interaction that you do have with your audience. So now that you have an understanding a little bit more of the actual journey that your audience takes while interacting with your organization, of course, going from stranger to member, it's really important to spend some time to really get to know your audience. Who are they? What do they do for fun? Even outside of the value that you offer them, what is their behavior like? What are they doing online? Are they looking up recipes? Are they reading articles about adopting dogs or pets? So it's really great to have a better understanding of who your audience is, so then you can continue to tailor that approach. So, some of the ways to get to know your audience a little bit better, first and foremost, is to create personas. If you're not familiar, buyer personas are semi fictional representations of your ideal customers, and that's based on both data and research that you do. So, they help you focus your time on qualified prospects and can guide your product development to really suit the needs and resolve those pain points. Um, and of course target your customers so you can really align all work across your organization. Now, buyer personas also help you to understand your customers and prospective customers, of course. And it really makes it easier for you to, again, tailor the content, tailor your messaging, and develop messaging and deliver your products, develop that and services. So then you can meet those specific needs and behaviors to cover those concerns and again pain points of the members of your target audience. And this, of course, will also help you to understand your members a little bit more than just what their careers or interests are that, actually bring them to you. Just think about your own behavior, honestly. I know personally, of course, I own and run my agency. I'm working with clients on a daily basis, but typically around 2 or 3 p.m., my stomach's starting to gurgle and I'm thinking, okay, well, what am I having for dinner tonight? So I'll start looking up recipes and I'll be on blog posts going, oh, well, I have this ingredient in the fridge. So then I'm on recipe blogs, and a lot of digital ads are shown in these places. And it's really a great way to sometimes pique your interest, especially if you have some great content there and something that grabs someone. So while I'm figuring out what's for dinner tonight, I may see an ad and say, oh, well, this reminds me of something else that I have to do for work. So it's just another way to really get to know your audience and be in front of them. Next, we always recommend to be conversational. And I know it's really been ingrained in many of our minds that when you're talking business and trying to sell things, you should be formal. You should be very official and formal. But in reality, conversational marketing and sales just work better. It really helps you to build a stronger relationship with your contacts. And after all, you're talking to a human. You're not talking to a robot. You're talking to somebody who has to get their kids off the bus, somebody who has to walk their dog. So, you need to understand that it's okay to be conversational. Feel free to use some humor even. It's not a robot that you're talking to. It's not a business that you're talking to at the end of the day. It's an actual human being. And having that more conversational approach will be better in the long run. And then finally, take the time to fully understand your audience's pain points. And I know this may seem basic, but really it is so important. So once you actually take the time to understand that these are their pain points, you can help build your brand better and associate with your audience better. It'll help your brand to really show your value, and you'll also, of course, be able to help resolve those pain points of your personas. So now that you know who your audience is and what their journey is with your brand, now's the time to actually find them. So, of course, word of mouth and referrals are always going to be the best way to grow your membership. But there are really so many other tactics that you can use to get your brand in front of your target audience that you might not even know exist today. Thanks to the digital world that we live in, you can really leverage these sophisticated audience targeting tactics and the vast amount of data that's available at your fingertips to find your target audience. And some of these tactics include building your audience by behaviors. So, what else are they doing online? What else are they searching for? Demographics, of course, a lot of these go back into the personas that we just talked about. Who is your audience? What are they doing? How can you use that information, that data, to find them in other locations? Geolocation or geofencing is also a great way. That's location based marketing and has tremendous potential to engage potential audience, for targeted campaigns based on their location. So this is also really great for any event marketing. If you're going to be at a trade show that's at a specific location, you could do so much with it. But as you can see, as you read through the list, there's so many ways that you can find people and build your audience. Even, some cool things that you can do with weather targeting, powered by IBM Watson data. There's just so many different ways. Again, IP targeting, contextual, device. For those that may not know, retargeting, I'm sure many of you are familiar with it, even if you don't know about it. Say you're on Amazon and you're looking for a dog treat for your dog. And then later on, you don't buy it, but later on, you're scrolling through the news and then you see that ad again. So that is what retargeting is. It's really the strategy of targeting someone who showed some initial interest in your product or service by, visiting your website. And then, of course, rather than trying to attract first-time visitors that may or may not convert, it really strives to get repeat visitors who are then more likely to convert because they are more familiar with your brand. They've done a little bit of research. Now, there's also, of course, lookalike audiences. And a really cool one too is CRM targeting, which is also known as offline retargeting. So this actually allows you to take your existing customer database. So if you're using HubSpot or another CRM system, but it takes all the contact information, the emails, the names, and it anonymizes it and can match it with extensive data sources that are out there, and allows you to then serve ads to your target audience across channels and devices. So again, if they're looking up recipes for dinner or researching something about their dog training, it's a great way, and it's completely compliant on privacy laws the way it's done. Then, of course, another great way is always search. As people are kind of in the moment and trying to research something, that's another great way to find your audience and get in front of them. And again, help them find what they're looking for. So, of course, now that you can identify your audience and find them, let's go into actually reaching them. So, getting your message in front of their eyes and ears. So, we always recommend an omni-channel approach. And an omni-channel marketing strategy really allows teams to meet your consumers where they are with the right message at the exact right time. So, again, following them through that journey. Omnichannel marketing will really help your organization and your business deliver a unified customer experience that, of course, acknowledges all those touch points that we talked about earlier across the customer journey, whether it's through an email, on your website, reading your own blog, or interacting with your social media. And, as the saying goes, don't put all of your eggs in one basket, meaning don't concentrate all of your efforts and resources into just one channel. You should really be using your website, email. You can have chat on your website, digital ads. Of course, social media is another great way, but use all of those things together and combined to really create an approach to reach your audience across, again, all stages of the customer journey and reaching them across the channels and devices that they are using on a daily basis. So this will help to keep your brand front of mind. And then when combined with really great content, you're going to start building trust and building those strong relationships with your audience. Now, it's important to share your content across multiple channels, as I just said. Not everyone is going to read all of their emails, and some people check social, some people don't. Others prefer maybe watching a video or even listening to a podcast. So, utilizing as many channels as you can successfully manage is important to get your message in front of your audience. Not everybody learns the same way, so it's important to be able to utilize these different avenues. And I'm going to pick on social media just for a minute because a lot of people think, oh, well, I'm posting on Facebook or I'm using LinkedIn and I get a lot of likes, comments, and shares. That's where my audience is. So that's how I know to reach them that way. And while platforms like Facebook and Instagram, LinkedIn, I know some of the newer ones, TikTok, there are plenty of them out there. They are great ways to communicate and interact with your audience, but there are also some downsides to them too, especially when it comes to their actual reach. You're kind of reliant on what they have to offer in their platform and their algorithms. So as you can see, going with an omnichannel approach, there are just so many advantages to that. You really get the sophisticated audience targeting that we were talking about earlier, kind of using, of course, you can use first party, second party, and third party data, using email lists, sending out your emails to them, utilizing, again, multiple devices and channels, email, digital ads, podcasts, of course, including social in there as well, and so much more. And when you do this, honestly, you're going to see a much higher ROI. Your return on investment as you're adding more channels to your strategy is going to be great. Of course, some drawbacks of this is that there are some complex platforms to learn. Some of the like programmatic ads, they're very complex. They can be a little bit more expensive, of course. And you're going to need someone on your team or a trusted partner like an agency to help you execute on those and make sure that you are utilizing them to the full potential. And again, helping you reach your audience across the buyer's journey. And again, kind of going back to say if you're just using social, of course, it's great. Like we said, it's a low barrier to entry. A lot of the times it's free. Of course, even their, digital ads, it's fairly low cost to start doing them to reach a little bit further with your audience. It's a simple, easy to use platform. I know, my parents, my grandparents were on it. So it's a great way to reach audiences where they do spend some of their time. But of course, some of the downfalls are the message is only shown on that platform. So if I'm doing something else, if I say, what, I really need a break from social media today, that person's not going to see your message. So it's really just on that one platform. And that reach is, of course, dependent on the platform's users. My husband is a great example. He hates social media. He's never on social media. But when he likes to buy things, he'll research it elsewhere. So if you're just going on social media, you're going to miss out on great prospects who will be promoters and who will use your product and services. And again, you're then reliant on the platform's data and algorithm. And I know some people may have heard recently there have been some changes with Facebook. And if you have a lot of followers, sometimes they'll limit that reach. If you post like a link in your post, they'll say, hey, I'll put it in your comments instead now. And again, you're reliant on another platform's data and another platform's algorithm. So while social is great to have in your mix, you absolutely want to utilize other channels. You want to make sure you have an email list that people can sign up for that you can then send emails to. You want to utilize some digital ads that you can target. Possibly adding some podcasts to the list. And again, the more channels that you use, the higher ROI you will, and the more people you'll be able to reach and get your message across to. Now, going back and kind of understanding a little bit about your audience's personas, you'll know that not always, people are not always looking at those industry publications or spending time with just that one subject matter that you may be offering. So that's why you can see a lot of results just by getting creative and maybe trying out new channels to add to your digital marketing plan. Utilizing some of the targeting tactics we talked about earlier, you can really reach your audience and on the channels that they're spending their time on. So, you might want to consider adding some of these to your mix. If you haven't tried digital ads before, as we went over before, many of the audience targeting tactics earlier, there are so many ways that you can make sure that you are getting in front of your new prospects. And of course, the ads can reach all over the internet, regardless of if someone's on an app playing a game or reading the latest news article or finding a dinner recipe. Like me, there's so many ways that you can reach people through digital ads. Podcasts are actually another great way. Of course, you can start your own podcast and become a thought leader and share that content that way. Of course, there's also podcast advertising. And there's really such a wide variety of shows and content that's already out there. It's pretty easy to find one that's compatible with your brand and what services you're offering. And of course, another advantage of podcast audio is that it's really unique in that podcast listeners tend to be very dedicated. They're highly dedicated and they're very engaged with what they're doing and what they're listening to. Another thing you might want to try is CTV, which is connected TV or over the top TV. And now these are services and devices that you're probably familiar with, like Hulu, Sling TV, Direct TV Now, PlayStation View, YouTube TV. I know there are more that pop up pretty much every day. But basically, you can run video ads on here that really showcase your products. And while it might sound a lot like running commercials on traditional TV, they're actually quite different. And they give you a little bit more control over targeting and reporting than traditional methods do. Another one is to consider digital out of home. So these are the screens that you can see pretty much across all the venues like airports, hotels, restaurants, ride-share taxi TVs. But digital out of home allows for contextual targeting based on where the consumers are and hyper local targeting. So you can either do a region or a certain neighborhood. Again, this is great if there's an event coming up or a trade show and people are hanging out at the bar next to the conference hotel, or even they have screens in the hotel. Again, these are just another way to get your brand in front of your audience and continue that branding and continuing that relationship with them. And well, you might be thinking in your mind right now, well, these channels are sure they're great for like B2C or maybe a direct to consumer brand, but I focus more on businesses and B2B. B2B can also utilize this. And, thankfully you can get very creative with it. And a lot of people, a lot of your audience will actually know and pay attention to that, especially if it's somewhere that they're not necessarily used to seeing that type of messaging. So really don't be afraid to add in some additional channels and test them out and see how they work for you. So I know we're running up on time. So in conclusion, again, don't be afraid to test out new channels and use those multiple channels together in an omni-channel approach. When you really get to know and understand your audience better and understand their pain points, where they are, how they spend their time outside of work, it becomes so much easier to reach them again, where they are and not necessarily where you think they are, just on one channel, just on social. They're not just sitting there all day waiting for your email to come. With an omnichannel marketing approach, you can really reach your audience across your buyer's journey. And even after they've signed up and are a customer, this will also help you to keep your brand on top of their mind and allow you to continue to build those strong, positive relationships with your customers. And that way you can stay relevant, and show your value again, even as they're a customer. And then when their membership is up, if it's time to renew, you're going to be top of mind. They already know your value. They're going to be willing to, again, hand over payment again. And in some cases, even start promoting and sharing your brand with connections and their own network that they know you can help solve their problems and relieve their pain points. So I know we're coming up on time and I will leave it open. If there are any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Of course, if you think of anything later on, you can always email. My email is up there, or visit our website at tradingup.media.
Catherine, thank you so much for sharing so much this wealth of information. What I really liked is your slide about the actual buyer's journey and how the line is so wiggly. And I know that so many people, think that maybe it is, step 1, 2, 3, while it's actually a very grayish area and would not necessarily know all of that. And so your recommendation for omni-channel approach marketing is so spot on. So thank you so much for sharing all of this.
Great. Thank you, Natalie. I appreciate it.
Awesome. And we are right at our time. So thank you so much for taking the time to share all of your expertise. Everyone, we will see you in the next session. And Catherine, hopefully we'll chat again real soon.
Yes. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.